Hi, today at Entrepreneur, we have with us Ankur and Aditi, co-founders of Angara. Thank you so much, Ankur and Aditi, for talking to us today at Entrepreneur, and we welcome you to the India market.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, really excited.
So Angara, as we know, as a brand, has already completed 2 decades in the international markets, and now it's coming to India. And I know you've got roots from India. So if you could take us back to how the inception was for Angara and how these 2 decades have been.
My family's been in the jewelry industry, particularly Jarao jewelry from Jaipur. And, growing up, I'd see my grandfather kind of, taking care in each piece. And every summer it would be like a little bit kind of, and it was embedded in my head, that thoughtfulness, that focus on customer, that on customization as well. So when we decided to kind of launch something together, we decided how do we use technology to scale this?
And then for me, I think, so my parents have been in wholesale gemstones for the last 50 years. Aditi's family's been in the business for 300 years, so a lot longer. But growing up, I used to go to the office Saturdays, Sundays, and just kind of saw the wholesale trade. I didn't quite love the wholesale part of it, but I was enamored by the trade itself. Very coincidentally, my first brush with jewelry happened to be in India itself. So I ran into Ratan Tata at a train station in Philadelphia, just randomly. I went up to him and I said, I fall sick because of you. And he's like, what do you mean? So I said, well, whenever I'm going to Jaipur, I'm always behind a Tata truck and the exhaust blows right into our car and then I'm coughing and by the time I get to Jaipur, I'm sick. So if you could just make the exhaust vertical, that would be awesome. And then this got us talking and he said, when you come to India, let me know. So I let him know next time I was in Bombay and he said, why don't you go visit Finish? And this is when Finish was trying to organize retail in India. So this is the year 2000 roughly. And that was my first realization that, hey, jewelry can be scaled. So 300 years ago, the jeweler would go to the customer, an aristocrat or royalty, and say, what are you dreaming of? And the Maharani or the Maharaja would say, okay, I'm thinking of this. The jeweler would go back, sketch it, show the piece, get approval, and then spend 6 months crafting the piece. So in our view, that's the right way to buy jewelry. Deeply meaningful, deeply emotional. And ironically, we thought, can we use technology to bring the industry back to its roots? How jewelry should have been bought as opposed to you go into a store and the salesperson sells you what they have. And then the second thing, rewinding 300 years ago, is color gemstones were really the bulk of the jewelry industry. And diamonds were one of 40 different gemstones. But then De Beers in 1947 came out with a diamond is forever, 2-month salary, engagement ring, all of that. And everything changed where all of a sudden 90% of the studded market became diamond jewelry. So we said, can we bring that part back to the roots also, which is what do customers actually want as opposed to what they're told they should want. So those were kind of the twin goals that we started the company with. We launched the website in 2006 and it's been an interesting ride ever since.
That remains online driven. So what made the brand click with the audience there?
So our journey was choppy. So we started in color. So back then, 2% of jewelry in the US was sold online. So it was a very small market, but it was growing at 50% a year. So clearly the future was that. Within that, color gemstones were like 7% of that overall market. So it was a very tiny niche. So we pivoted away into diamonds because it was much easier to get volume, ultimately then coming back into color. We had a couple of realizations, I would say, back in 2010 that really started growing the company very quickly. To kind of give you a trajectory, so it took us 11 years to get to 10 million in revenue. It took us 5 years after that, so 2017 to 2022 to get to 100 million revenue. So once we figured it out, scale was pretty quick. We're pretty unique in the sense that we never raised any venture capital. In our case, it worked out well because we broke even within the first 5 years and we've been profitable for the last 15. So that it worked out quite well because we really laser focused around both color and customization. So the first realization and the first thing that worked is we offered everything as a custom product. So we have 4 different qualities of sapphires, for example: good, better, best, heirloom. Good is similar to what you would find at like a Zales, a lower end mall jeweler. Heirloom is what you would find at Tiffany or Graf or Harry Winston, kind of the spectrum. We offer that same piece in silver, yellow gold, white gold, platinum. We'll offer it in various sizes, so 0.5 carat, 1 carat, 2 carat, 3 carat, and so forth. So all of a sudden, if you like a particular design, Whether you want to spend $500 or $50,000, we have an offering that can serve you. And that was a big realization, because if the traffic is coming from Google or Meta, we don't know how much that customer wants to spend, but we do have something that offers it. So we were able to market across various demographics, which is pretty unique to do. So that's kind of realization one. Realization two was around really focusing on color. We were the only ones at that time that focused on color. Even now, we're rare in the sense that we're focusing on color, because color is inherently hard. It's not commoditized like diamonds are. It's easier to sell gold jewelry. It's very easy to sell diamond jewelry because you have GIA or IGI certification. Color is more like selling art to some extent, or historically, that's kind of how it's been. And that has its challenges, but it also has a lot of things going for it. So for example, our cost per click on Google or Meta was much lower just because there wasn't a lot of competition. So we kind of by ourselves in this area, which enabled us to achieve profitability quickly and then also growth.
I think the challenge with that, like Ankur said, is also educating the customer. It's only 2% of sales color, right? So to increase that, educating the customer, and your preference of green might be different than mine, and they're both equally beautiful. So the idea, I think, why people are actually now willingly moving forward to color is because diamonds presented this singular idea of perfection. So the DIF diamond meant that it had to be clean and eye clean, and it was so specific that as humans, our mentality, our behavior has changed. We are able to embrace our flaws more. We realize that people are different, and we embrace those differences. So I think that way people are okay with the flaws in a gemstone and color. If it has an inclusion, that's part of it, and that's what makes it beautiful. So I think that I think the behavioral shift in humans has also been able to make them accept colored gemstones more.
In these last 20 years, I think you've already expanded to 5 different markets already.
Yeah, so US is still the majority of our sales. We launched roughly 3 to 5 years ago in the UK, Australia, Canada. We launched in India 10 months ago as a soft launch, really 3 months ago as a full launch. But then end of this year, we're also launching in Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and the GCC countries, so all 6. Including UAE and Saudi. So currently 72% of our revenue is the US and 28% between UK, Australia, Canada. If I were to predict out 5 years from now, so our goal is to hit $1 billion in revenue by 2030. Again, with completely organic growth, no external funding. So that's the trajectory that we're on. Of that, I would imagine that the US would be 50%. And the rest of the world would be 50%. India is a 1,000 crore target by 2030. So roughly 12.5% of the billion would be India. So just to kind of draw a parallel between the US market and the India market, overall jewelry worldwide is roughly a $400 billion market. India and the US are both $85 billion. So the number 1 and 2 markets in the world essentially tied there. But India is growing a lot faster. It's growing at 10 to 15% per year. US is growing at roughly 4% per year. So this will be the largest market in the world very shortly, and it's going to continue to grow from there.
So what changed the trajectory? I mean, after 20 years, even you're now opening the first offline store. So how did that change came in?
So 80% of our customers who would call in India would ask, "Aapka store kahan hai?" So kind of, we're very customer driven. So they told us what they wanted. So that's what kind of encouraged us to open the first store.
And the rest of the world in the US, we never get asked this question, or like less than 1 in 100 calls. Same thing with Australia, Canada, UK. So this is surprising for us. And certainly some of the other geographies, maybe for example, the UAE may require the same, in which case we're happy to oblige. So we'll let the customer kind of drive our path in each country differently.
Specifications, or I'd say changes you have done to succeed in those markets?
There's a lot of things that have been very similar across markets, which we've been very surprised by. So the offtake of lab-grown, for example. So lab-grown has been a huge part of our business for the last 12 months now. We only launched 12 months ago, but the majority of our diamond sales are now lab-grown, for example. But the reaction towards lab-grown has been different country by country. So the US and Canada have been pretty much identical. UK lab-grown has been slower, and natural still dominates. India, we had our soft launch 10 months ago. the percentage of jewelry that is lab grown versus natural for the diamond side is identical in the US and India. And they're completely different markets, so it's very surprising. Also, what's been similar is 60% of what we sell in the US is rings, 60% of what we're selling in India is rings.
Oh.
So that it just surprised us. We didn't know what to expect, but there's a lot of similarities. The percentage split on the color stone side between natural and lab has been a little bit different between the two countries. So for example, India is 5-1, 5 natural, 1 lab as a proportion. In the US, it's roughly 2-1, 2 natural, 1 lab. And I think the reason now that we're kind of looking backwards is there's like a spiritual component to gemstones. There's healing properties or astrological properties, so people buy it for various reasons. And natural as a result makes more sense in the context here.
I think one other key difference is, Gen Z is very comfortable purchasing online. So they're the ones currently buying lab-grown diamonds. And if you take any survey, it's the boomers who are kind of not comfortable with it yet. But as we open up stores and they're able to touch and feel and actually see that they're chemically, physically, optically identical, they'll be much more comfortable purchasing that too. So we definitely see that where we see more boomers, there is less sale of lab-grown diamonds at the moment, but we see that shift happening pretty soon once we open offline.
With all this competition, where do you see Angara will further stand out? Do you think customers are further more inclined towards colored gemstones, or do you think diamonds will sell more?
Yeah, so if I look at the India market, so right now the market structure is where it's 88% is gold jewelry, 10% is diamond jewelry, 2%, less than 2% is color stone jewelry. So color stone jewelry is still very nascent. If I look at Tanishq, number 1 gold jewelry, number 2 diamond jewelry. If I look at the startup ecosystem in general, a lot of lab-grown diamond startups, as you mentioned, we're still the only ones in color. And that's the same case worldwide, coincidentally. And I think fundamentally it's very hard to get color right. Because on a per stone basis, we have 40 different gemstones. And now we have scale, but when you're starting to build a brand, you need those 40 different gemstones times various qualities, various sizes, various shapes. It's a tremendous amount of inventory investment.
So what kind of learning you have had while running the business together for the last 2 decades?
One thing is definitely to compartmentalize, our personal lives and our professional lives. And Ankur is a little bit better at it than I am. But it's been a learning, I think we've gotten better at it. So we have this 30-minute rule that we can only discuss about work contiguously for 30 minutes a day. We have our own different departments, and of course we work all day, but together just so we can have that sanity at home and talk about other things as well. So that's definitely one rule we have.
Yeah, I think another rule we have is we have this limit for new tests. We're $10,000 per test. That's kind of so roughly 8.5 lakhs, right? And the idea behind that is we can test whatever ideas we have in that budget, but it's to take away the ego from the equation. So you run the test, if it works, great, you scale it. If it doesn't work, you let it go.
So how's the responsibility divided between the two of you?
So I play essentially the typical CEO function. So now, given the scale that we've achieved, it's more almost as a capital allocator, which is putting the pieces of the puzzle together for each team, whether it be marketing or operations or supply chain, making sure we have the right people in place and letting them do what they're best at. And try to hire people better than us at whatever it is. So that's the primary role. And then on the financial side, figuring out what our big bets are over the next 3 years and planning out capital accordingly and the team accordingly and kind of building that. Merchandising is all of the piece.
Yeah, and I primarily now focus mostly on the customer experience and they're driven by my own experiences, whether it's been in tourism, whether it's been in retail, and really driving, what would bring joy to the customer? And we going back to our roots, we kind of go on this thing of Manwar from Rajasthan, the kind of that unreasonable hospitality, and how can we translate that onto online retail? Because we don't see the customer face to face. So how do we make them feel seen and heard, in their experiences and make sure that it's seamless and exceptional?
And how big is the team?
We have now 500 people, pretty distributed. We have 10 offices around the world.
Everyone is now talking about AI shaping businesses these days. So how are you using this in your business?
So yeah, a few fundamental ways. We've been working on this project, for example, for the last 9 months now, which is going back to the original idea of how do you let the customer pick exactly what they want. AI helps us get closer to that. So the prompt can be, what piece are you dreaming of? And you could type whatever it is, or you can upload an image of an idea that you have, and AI will work with you to create that piece over a series of questions. Once that piece is there, because we have the entire supply chain in-house, we can craft that piece. We can cut and polish a gemstone to the size and shape that you would like. We can build it in yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, whatever works for you. And then we can fulfill. So the idea is that 6-month process, we can compress into under a week, but we use AI to figure out what that right piece is for the customer. And we'll use our jewelry expertise to provide guardrails so that people don't come up with something super crazy and that's not
And the structural integrity
feasible.
will be there as well.
And before we conclude, just a quick rapid fire.
Absolutely.
What is the highest costing jewelry piece that you've sold?
$182,000. So roughly $1.5 crore.
Okay. And which is the best seller?
Princess Diana inspired ring,
Okay. Okay.
typically in sapphire.
Which is your favorite stone?
Emerald by far.
Which you're really
Yes, I never take it off.
That's all for now. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us today at Entrepreneur.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having
It
me.
was a pleasure.
Much
Thank you.
appreciated.